and welcome to Our Favorites. We are working our way through each of our top 10 favorite movies of all time, and we are on Jake's sixth, right? Sixth?
Yes.
I don't know.
Sixth favorite movie of all time. Jake, take it away and tell us what that movie is.
Oh, you guys, we are going to take a trip down Sad Boy Jake Lane today.
You mean another trip down Jake's sad boy?
Hold up. What other movie has been super sad?
Let's see. That was sad. That was sad. That was sad. All these are sad to a degree.
No, I guess I'm still in my sad boy era.
Every movie has to be.
Well, to be fair, the newest movie was Walter Mitty last week, 2013.
Really
so that means
sad.
everything in here you saw, besides it being older, doesn't mean you didn't watch it when younger. But a lot of these are from when you were younger. That's probably most of us, other than people who pick movies that are like 2 seconds old. Anyway.
Who was that?
I wonder.
What was 2 seconds old? What year? Tell me what year.
2019.
Yeah, that's 2 seconds old 4 years
Still
ago.
feels like it's still 2020, remember?
All right.
Touche. Anyway, this movie we're going to be talking about came out in 2006. Caught me off guard in 2006. Spoke to me when I was coming into my own as a musician, a storyteller, a writer in 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. And then says another different thing to me as I watch it this year. I am, of course, talking about the only good Will Ferrell movie, Stranger Than Fiction.
What? Not Step Brothers?
I don't have anything to hurl at you right now.
If it makes you feel better, Dickie, I don't like Step Brothers either.
Aww, Step Brothers is gold.
I mean, I could have just put Three Ninjas on my list. Made you all watch that.
That's the throwback, man. I love Three Ninjas.
It's so bad. Anyway, Stranger Than Fiction. I love this movie. Like I said, it says something different to me every time I watch it.
How many times have you seen it?
Probably 5 or 6.
5 or 6. But it's been a while.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I myself, at least in 2008, 2009, 2010, whenever year I watched it.
Right at the end of college.
Yeah,
so.
right around the end of college. Felt like a Harold Crick. And then saw a lot of myself in that movie. And then, as we have said, I love movies where the main character breaks out of a system that he feels that they feel they are stuck in. I was really happy with this one because after Looper, I have been kind of paranoid every time we watch one of these movies. I've been like, because I loved Looper when it came out, and I decidedly did not love it this time. And everyone, I'm like, I know that this movie is kind of on the edge. It might not actually be good to me now. But thankfully, I cried at the end of this. I'm not ashamed to say I cried at the end of it. And I think it's definitely a niche movie. Like, you know, you read a lot of reviews that are like, it's a hidden gem masterpiece, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people do a lot of analysis that don't end up being really critical analysis of the movie.
Is it just I like this. This is fun. This is good. And it's heartfelt. The end.
It's kind of like that.
Well, they don't really talk about the movie.
I think that this movie really speaks to writers. Because there's a lot of language in there that is,
The minute,
for lack of a better way of saying it, you just have to be a writer to understand the mechanic of what's going on.
well, I can also say the minute that I heard the way the narrator was, just the dialogue that she used, I'm like, this, I can tell this came from an author, from someone that really understands how to write dialogue.
Watching it this time, I think I don't want to say I liked it less because I still cried at the end. I really loved that ending. I saw a lot more in it that made me wish that there was more to the story. It is kind of unbalanced in the characters. There's like we were talking earlier. There's a lot of Walter Mitty, but there's also a lot of Emma Thompson. There's a lot of interesting things that could be said.
Harold Crick. You said Walter Mitty again.
He
said it earlier
They
today.
are very. I did. They are very similar movies.
I think this is better than Walter Mitty.
I think this has a stronger script than Walter Mitty does.
I think this better balance. This doesn't
Tonally.
lean so hard into the comedy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Or the more natural comedy. There we go.
to its credit, makes it better because this could have easily been silly, goofy, wacky, and then it's just kind of like your throwaway comedy. But because they took it more serious and kept that levity to it, it works really well.
I am surprised they were able to do that with Will Ferrell
I think.
in the lead role because as somebody that naturally also rolls into that kind of comedy, I was very impressed.
But this is kind of the era when those types of comedians were coming.
Jim Carrey with Eternal Sunshine 2 years
and
before.
Adam
Oh, is-
Sandler with
With Punch Drunk Love the year before that.
Was
that's
Spanglish
hilarious.
before Punch Drunk Love?
I don't know what Spanglish is because nobody cares about Spanglish.
I didn't realize those were all back to back to back.
I don't know what Spanglish is. I always get that mixed up with Anger Management
I don't know if it's.
because it's like, oh yeah, Spanglish. That's where Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson, or as Jake calls him, Jack Nicholas every time.
Hey, I
'Cause
come by
they're
that
just going
naturally.
"Ah!" at each other on the poster. I realize, that's Anger Management. Both posters are white. Moving on. You were saying.
Anyway, I think that the movie potentially has a lot to say because she's very clearly depressed. I think that writing, and you know, if you're a writer, you get it. Like, she writes death all the time. Of course she is. I don't think it says a whole lot, at least not as much as I remember. And then there's a lot that they could. There's just a couple of different moments where they touch on themes where I wish that was a little more fleshed out.
Mm.
But other than that, like, I really love it. Like, I just love it.
For me, I really, really, really enjoyed the script. I thought it was really well written. The only thing is that it just felt like it was way too long. I feel
didn't
like
think-
this did not need to be 2 hours. I think it could have been closer to like 90 minutes.
What would you cut?
I think I would cut some of the stuff with, and I really liked. Oh my god! I saw her name and her just blank.
Maggie
If he
Gyllenhaal?
says
Her assistant,
Oh, Queen Latifah?
Queen Latifah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Jake about earlier. She doesn't really do anything in the
No.
movie.
Was
And
she
why
a-
would you cast someone that recognizable?
was she a big
yeah,
name at the time?
Yeah.
Probably.
That's probably her peak years. Those
Okay.
early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Like I would cut a bunch of that stuff, and I really, like I said, I like the script and I like what it had to say. I like the interesting thing like about struggling to kill your characters that you just wrote a lot of like that. I've never once written a novel, but I could imagine that would be a very hard thing to do, writing pages and pages and pages on top of characters and then having to make the like active choice to kill them at the end is a hard thing to do.
I think
I
it's
don't
more,
think that's her struggle because I think
her struggle is the writer's
because she
block
always
more
the
than
point is that she always kills them at the end,
Yeah.
so she's used to that.
Yeah.
I think it's more the struggle of as she gets closer to that, she imagines herself dying more and more.
she's
and
obsessed
more
with
and more.
death. And she
that's
surrounds herself with it, or she wants to feel what it's like, and the closest she can do that is through her writing.
And how does that not scream depression to you?
I mean, she imagined herself jumping off a building.
Crashing a car over a bridge.
Yep.
You in a car underwater with time to kill.
Yep.
No one got that musical reference. Oh, crap. I'm in sad emo boy. The other thing I thought was that the Maggie Gyllenhaal relation, it's just a little bit fast. Like, it's nice
if
and it makes
feel
sense, but it's
rushed.
just a little fast.
Yeah.
Also, that whole flowers thing, I didn't.
Okay, I'm not
I
gonna
didn't.
lie,
That is-
was the cutest and smartest thing I have
it's-
ever thought.
It's very clever. I have to admit, when I was watching it when I was younger, I didn't get it. I was like, why is he bringing her seeds of flowers?
Oh, I'm like, that's cute and that's clever.
And I love the line of when she goes, "Do you have like a key to this?" "Oh no, I memorized it." Like, the blue is barley flower. I go, "That's adorable." Of course he memorized it. He's counting everything already, and I know he stopped doing it, but it's like he has a crazy memory.
That was the other thing I felt like was a little bit quick. Like, he plays a song on the guitar.
That's like 2 chords.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really
I think
was-
that's why
And
they
then she
chose
just
that
bangs
I was
song.
him.
thinking the same exact. Well, you gotta play a chord of the guitar. No.
Really?
No, she's like all over too.
Because can you imagine what a movie would be like right now if the one character went up to another character that they were set up as adversaries and just went, "I want you."
That was a little bit like,
Oof.
uh-huh. Oh, how did you feel when she jumps on him after he plays, and then the guitar gets knocked off the couch, and you hear like a
I'm sure, like,
on the floor, and I can't. Oof.
It wasn't too bad. It was something someone gave her for a cake, so it couldn't have been that valuable.
Matters how good the cake is.
I also really loved the way that they described him in the music store. I was like, I feel that. I feel that in my bones.
I
About
just
a writer
watched this last
and people
night.
playing guitar and sad. This is perfect for Jake.
It really is. Yeah, and I like I know we talked about it, and you said that you don't think the Dustin Hoffman character is fleshed. The Dustin
don't
Hoffman
think,
character's point is fleshed out well.
Do you want me to go
would
into that
agree-
spiel about the supporting character?
Yeah,
I do
I'll
agree
go.
with that, so
I'll go
I'm
into what I
curious.
have to say after you say that.
So my whole thing, I think this is a good movie that could have been great. And the way I feel about it is there's a lot of really good stuff. This is better than a lot of movies we get. And it is the type of movie that it could have been the Garden State effect of it's so quirky you're going to puke. But it doesn't. It feels more natural while still having the little quirks in there to make it feel like, an independent film more like. And they set up this great supporting cast of characters around him, and they don't get the time and development that I feel they deserve. They don't need a ton because he is the main character, and he's the one that it's focusing on. The story's literally about him, and what happens then is I kind of wanted a little more time because, like, Maggie Gyllenhaal, once, she jumps on him like that, she doesn't really do anything the rest of the movie.
Although that whole scene with that, the whole scene, it's like 3 seconds. The scene of them watching movies on the couch is very relatable.
Oh, yeah. There's still good stuff. It's just her character kind of ends there once they get together. The Dustin Hoffman character, there's a lot of interesting parts in that, and I'll get to that reason at the end, but he also, the only thing we really get from him is he's very busy, and he taught a class on the author.
Yeah. And the one thing that threw me for, like, I didn't really understand why, he, like, even when he...
Hey, talk about why he does it?
Yeah.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay, that's when he said,
yeah.
What's those 4 words? Like,
Little did he know. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. And then
I've taught classes on Little
I'm
Did
like,
You Know.
okay.
And we have,
that's
and
good for
then,
me.
like we've said, the Queen Latifah character doesn't do anything.
No,
And it's like, if you would have gotten someone who's not a recognizable name, I think that works better. But you put a pretty big name in this character, and she doesn't really do much. And it upset me because it's like, they set up her character, because that memory shows her, like, at home looking for jobs and finding it. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, like, okay, so they're setting up something with her, and then it doesn't really do anything. It feels like there was more to the script, and a bunch got cut out to make it a 2-hour movie.
Yep.
I could see that.
And that's
I feel
just
like
what
it was
happens. You
probably
can't
a
fit
2.5
everything.
hour movie originally.
Something like that. And
Yeah.
I don't want this to be 2.5 hours.
No.
But then you also got the author gets more screen time than most of the other characters, and we never really understand her other than she's obsessed with death. And that's fine. It is one of the things I would have liked more, but that gets into the preference area. She does get more screen time than a lot of them. One of them that I really wanted more screen time was Tony Hale.
I freaking love Tony Hale.
Yeah, it's Tony Hale, and it's actually a pretty important person because
Yeah.
that's the one he gets sent to the adult space camp. Like one of his things he does before he accepts this, after he's accepted the Satan before it happens. And I remember thinking I feel like this should hit harder because we need a little bit more there. Because that scene where he's talking to him about it at his house is really good. And I remember thinking the whole point of the story is he's breaking out of his rut and he's actually experiencing life similar to the Walter Mitty thing. Whereas instead of a daydreamer, he's just completely cut off from everything. And here he is connecting. And I remember thinking while I'm sitting there going, I feel like a lot of life connecting, as most people say, is the people around you. And I feel like we have a little bit more of the people around him. That connection's there more. It's still really good. I just think it could have been great if we have more there.
Yeah.
And
I definitely think that the breaking out piece, that's one of my favorite moments in the movie where the way he kind of breaks out of that pattern is to just stop counting his brush strokes when he's brushing his teeth.
Yep.
That moment is really subtle and a really ingenious way to do that because it's such an everyday mundane thing.
And that's why, again, kind of, it's so funny how similar this is to Walter Mitty thinking about it. But like when you mix the mundane and then you have like the total over the top moment where the crane swings into his building, that gave me a freaking heart attack.
Well, you think it's fake at first.
Yeah.
He's like, what? And then you realize, like, oh, we mixed up buildings. It's like, and it's literally his fate is not in his own hands.
The other issue, and this is fully my... I blame a little bit the people that mix the audio for this, because when I was watching it on my television, all the dialogue and that kind of stuff was really, really quiet.
Oh, movies have been like that since...
I know, yeah. It's not that big of a... Regardless, so... It was, hear me out, okay? I was watching this pretty late that night.
He's sitting watching the TV, you get sucked into the TV, and then...
Yep. I'm not kidding you. I damn near, I had a little cup of water next to me. I almost, flipped my arms and knocked it. My heart was beating 1,000,000 times a minute, man. And I was like, turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. But that's the fun one.
Yeah. So now we get to... The first moment that I was like, okay, this is a bit of a flaw because I'm like, okay, yeah, that's weird. He goes to, I'm going to get the name real quick of Dustin Hoffman's character, Professor Hilbert. Harold goes to the professor's office and is telling him this, and of course he's not believing him.
Yeah.
And then he tells him, I'd like to discuss this further, I was like, but I'm doing this. He has all this stuff going on, says I don't have time. And all Harold says is the little did he know. And then instantly, Hilbert is on his side going like, little did you know, that means someone else's, it's not your perspective or whatever. He's going into why this isn't you. And I'm like, that feels really
No, he doesn't.
fast.
He doesn't even do that though.
He just instantly is like,
come
in next week. Actually, no, you might be dead by then. Come in tomorrow. And I'm
it's more like and again, I get it, and it doesn't bother me. That flaw doesn't bother me, but you're right. It's too instant. He latches on to little did he know. Oh, I've taught classes on little did he know again because I think it's a movie geared at writers.
I can see, yeah.
Because if you're a writer and you've written like that, that hits you and you go, oh, I know what he means.
I bet you I know what happened. It's probably wrong. I wonder if
there was too much
Zach.
exposition.
I bet you I think it was Zach Helm. I read as a writer. His first draft or one of the early drafts had more time, and when condensing it, he had to cut corners, and he had to be like, okay, I can't have 3 or 4 scenes between this scene and when the professor decides to help him. We don't have time. Mm-hmm. I have to just kind of make this connect. I wonder if that's what happened, because my fix would be you have a couple scenes pass, and he's thinking about the little did he know comment and letting it sit.
You're also talking about a Will Ferrell movie.
Yes.
And there are certain expectations on a Will Ferrell movie.
That's true. It's just the fact that I didn't want to steer away from what you were going on. But
no, that was mostly it. It just needed more time and more.
Yeah, it's not like you said. It's not like he's a bad character. It's just
no. It's a great cast.
And not enough exposition there.
Yeah.
There's not enough time. There's not enough development.
Yeah. Well, and also you're not gonna want to have oodles of time in your movie of professors explaining literary devices.
I actually wouldn't mind if it's Dustin Hoffman.
That's true. I could listen to Dustin Hoffman.
But okay, you are different than Jake Dickey over here.
I would love to listen to Dustin Hoffman speak. Dustin Hoffman's amazing.
Yeah, he's
missing the joke.
Brilliant. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I was going to mention Will Ferrell because it's just so interesting that they cast him. This is so far outside.
And he's not done anything remotely close to this.
And that's what really caught me in 2006.
Yeah.
I think I was coming. Oh, it was Anchorman 2004, 2000,
something like that, 2003 or 4, somewhere in there. So it's real close.
I was still forcing myself to like that movie because all my friends liked it.
Oh, everyone's quoted it to death.
And I saw this and I was like, "Whoa!" It's
a hard left turn.
So man. Different, but let me tell you what too. The 2000, the mid 2000s, had a type of movie.
Yeah,
and a type of soundtrack. Did. And I'm not complaining about this either one of those, but
you can
it's
tell.
Well,
you want to know a quick funny side note about the soundtrack thing? Was first off, this is going to come out months after the movie actually dropped, but I just watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the soundtrack for that is Scream's 2023. So I was kind of just ready for a soundtrack that fit that era. I was just ready for. I was hardwired into expecting that kind of stuff, so it fit. I loved it.
Are you talking about for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Strangers in Fiction?
Both. I'm saying the soundtrack for TMNT nailed the tone because the tone was a more modern take. And I say modern as in 2023, like now. Whereas in the 2006, this feels like freaking 2006. It feels like
I get on board with that.
indie, like rock kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, but like getting back. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
That's
off
all I
there.
had to say.
Yeah, that I agree with you.
Yeah.
Getting back to Dustin Hoffman, I think that has another really interesting underdeveloped conversation towards the end. Spoilers. When Emma Thompson's character Karen Eiffel gives him the novel completed to read, right? And he reads it, and they go there. It's right at the end. No. Sorry,
he doesn't read it right away.
This is when he's telling Harold.
Yeah, Harold has read it at this point.
No, I'm talking about before that.
Before, or not Harold.
When he's telling when Hilbert tells Harold, before Harold reads it, right before it, because he says to Harold, "You have to die. There is no other way." And I think that opens up, in my mind anyways, a really interesting conversation about what is more important, life or art. And I think in my mid-20s, or in my early 20s, or even in my teens, I would have sided with art and said yes. Because I say it about a lot of stories. I say it about Avatar, like, Aang should have died. That would have justified the story more.
Spoilers for Avatar.
Oh, my God. It's been out for so long.
Or there's a couple other movies. Iron Man 3 is a dumb one that I think of.
Mm-hmm.
Gwyneth Paltrow
Spoilers!
should have died. It would have justified the story a little bit more, but hearing this, it's like
You hear the other side.
it's like, I don't know. I don't think I agree with that anymore, because with this specific instance, and as Emma Thompson's character goes into further at the end of the movie, this is a guy that willingly chose to die knowing he was going to die.
Because what does Hilbert say about that? You're going to die no matter what. Would you rather know about it and die a more honorable way, or would you just wait for fate to just bring it to you? And it is an interesting thing, and he accepts it.
Yeah, and again, I think it's kind of I think it's a very important part of that movie that gets undercooked and a little overlooked by those that do critical analysis of it, because I think this movie is more than just breaking out of your shell because if you know your fate, you can accept it. I think it's more than that. At least it hits me more than that.
No, and that's where I think it's, like, obviously the main character, or I say the main character because in my head, the main character of this is not Harold Crick. It's Emma Thompson's character, Karen Eiffel. Like, it's about...
I think you said that earlier, too,
Yeah.
before we recorded.
It's about her figuring out how to write and end her book. And it's just... It's a very interesting framing device that it takes in following Harold. That's what... Like, it honestly took me a good 30 to 45 minutes to fully get into the movie because I was just... I don't want to say confused, but I was just taken aback by the fact that we were trying to... Like, I realized that all the decisions he's making is stuff that she's thinking.
You didn't realize that at first?
No, well, I mean, I kind of did, but it just didn't. It just didn't set into me.
Okay.
I didn't. It took me a second to get into the groove of how the movie worked.
This is another thing where I think it's a very niche movie and it's geared toward a very specific person. I am a person who kind of narrates my own life in my head. Mm-hmm. I'm not schizophrenic. It's my own voice, and I'm intentionally doing it. I can't say the same for you, but I kind of like talk to myself like a camera's looking at me. Mm-hmm. And so
Don't you know? Cameras are everywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You're always being watched.
Camera right there.
There's a camera in all our phones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, apparently, the TikTok can be hacked, and they can access our Wi-Fi through our faces.
Whoa.
Boom. Anyway, I got that right away, and I think that's kind of why I related to it as well as I did when I first saw it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all I had to say on that point, or at least I don't remember right now. Keep going.
We were talking earlier about how such an interesting deviation it is for Will Ferrell, especially at this time. I thought this was a little later in the decade, and then like Jake brought up Anchorman being just a couple years before, and I'm like,
did you look up when Anchorman was?
I thought it was 03. I can check really quick, but it's just funny. It's like this is like right as he's broken through in the mainstream. It's like a big name, like having his own movie.
Tell me if Kicking and
2004.
Tell me if Kicking and Screaming came between.
That's got to be 2005. Let me.
Or maybe Talladega Nights too.
I feel like this movie probably bombed at the box office because of that reason.
Yeah, 2005 is
one of those mismarketed things because it marketed kind of as a Will Ferrell comedy.
Really?
And it is not.
Oh my god!
There are like.
If I showed up to that movie expecting Will Ferrell,
Talladega Nights, 2006, same year as Stranger Than Fiction.
I would have been pissed.
There are two moments of Will Ferrell comedy, and they're not even really played for comedy.
Because what is Will Ferrell comedy?
Screaming.
What I was talking to him. What got him onto SNL? What did he do in his audition tape? Do you remember the specific skit?
No.
It's the shed. Kids get off the shed thing. Where he's talking to the new neighbors all calmly and like, kids, get off the shed! And every time he cuts to it, he gets louder and he gets more profane, and it's like he's just snapping and he goes right back to talking. Mm-hmm. That is, I think I've seen the audition tape on like a bonus feature thing for an SNL DVD cool. that they used to make. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, when I thought about that, when thinking about Will Ferrell in this movie, it's like, yeah, Will Ferrell's brand of comedy is a lot of yelling. Mm-hmm. And then you get a movie like this, really the only two moments of him.
It's weird to watch him so subdued.
Yeah, because it's the scene where he resets his watch because he's yelling to the voice with all those people staring at him. Yeah. And it's not really a big Will Ferrell moment. The biggest one that Jake brought up to me earlier is when he's destroying things.
Him swinging the lamp around, saying, and then Harold destroyed the lamp and waved it around. And it's like, it's more of a sad, frustrating thing.
It is.
Then it is a comedy thing, but it is Will Ferrell comedy.
Because then you have, there are two moments that come to mind where it's like really subdued and really heartfelt. And one is when he's talking to Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think her name is Anna, right?
Yeah.
Anna Pascal.
Yeah.
As opposed to Daddy Pascal.
Yeah. So when him and Anna, like the night before he dies, are just talking when they're laying in bed like that. That was one I was like, that's really good. He's really good.
I just watched it 2 days ago. Did he tell her that he was going to die, or did he stop short of that?
He never told her.
Okay.
And then the other moment is when he's like pleading with Hilbert, like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, that was
And it is, and I like how he's not like forced into it or anything. Like he sits down and reads it because he couldn't before. And I love that whole thing of him sitting on the bus all day.
That's a long scene. Oh, that's the other thing.
It was silly enough.
It felt real though.
But it felt real.
Yeah, no, I haven't sat and read an entire book on a bus, but I've zoned out on a bus like that before. Mm-hmm. I do have to say this specifically to Dickey. The bus scene, the one specifically with Maggie Gyllenhaal, is a better bus scene than in Shang-Chi.
What bus? Like, what do you mean?
Where it just keeps turning?
Yeah.
It turns like 7 times. Yeah. Every time they cut, it's turning. Like,
it's going through a city block.
To be completely fair, those are two incredibly different tones.
Don't care.
This movie's
better bus scene.
It's not a better bus scene, but
much better bus scene.
I disagree.
I love the way she moves back and forth behind that bar, though. It's beautiful.
The way he says, "I ogled you."
That also felt like Will Ferrellism to me. The way he said that.
This is the most awkward person imaginable. And he feels so real.
But the way Karen Eiffel describes his movement, specifically with the boat, like specifically in that first 20 minutes or so, is just beautiful. And then that's how he tells her that he's him. I hear the sound of ocean waves when I move files or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she just stops.
I do love
there's so many things that I love about this movie.
The phone rang, and the phone rings, and she's like,
don't answer
it! Why? That's her paranoia, too, though. Yep. Like, seriously, it is like she should be the main character in this.
I think she is.
But he's louder. That's the problem.
Yeah.
She should have more screen time, is what I think you mean.
I also love that... the scene with her in the typewriter, she's typing it out, and she has to, where she grabs it and starts shaking it right at the end.
Mm-hmm. She can't finish.
Yeah.
Because she can't do it.
Yep.
It's just eating away at her over the years.
Oh, man. I cried.
I remember the first time I watched it, at that moment of like she changed the ending, and Hilbert goes, "It's okay. It's not like masterpiece, but it's okay." And it's like, "I think I'm okay with okay," and I was like, "I really like that." And then this time when she says, "Here's the thing, though, I'm gonna rewrite the book. Like I'll rewrite the rest of it to be what if he doesn't die at the end, but he knows he's going to." And how did they phrase it?
It's the whole spiel.
Yeah.
But if you have a man, or it's easy to kill someone that doesn't know they're going to be killed. But if you have a man that knows he is going to die and still chooses to die, is that not the type of man you want to live?
That was a good.
I tell you, that
was
bawled at that ending. Like this time specifically, I was like, "Oh gosh, I've never cried at this before," and it got to me hard in my old age.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, "That's really good."
And you're an endings person, so it sold you on it.
Yeah, I remember watching like I remember really liking this. Just like really parts of this, but I don't remember if I loved the ending. And this time, like, no, this is really good.
Yeah, I feel like some movies and some shows you can tell when they have an end in mind and they write for that end, and this is one of them. It didn't just come up from a random pitch meeting and they decided to roll with it. Like this was a full and ending story when they.
So I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think with movies, it works differently. I think with shows that you have
some movies.
Some,
Marvel.
I guess. Well.
Sorry, I just...
That's... Okay. At this point, side note, at this point, Marvel is more like a TV show than it is a set of movies.
It really is.
It's awful, but that's not the point.
But that's... Sorry, I don't mean to go back, keep going down the spiel. But like when I look at franchise movies, that's kind of what I think of people trying to make franchises, where this is just a one and done, and it feels that way, and I can appreciate that.
You don't want a sequel?
Stranger Than Fiction 2, Electric Boogaloo, let's go.
How many times are you gonna make this joke when it's not funny?
Wow, that joke was funny 10 years ago, 12 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
I would say call it Stranger Than Diction.
And you get Dickie, you could be the star. Oh!
And it's just the whole movie is Dickie locked in a room talking to like a little tape recorder.
I watched that.
And then at the end, it's revealed the door was unlocked the whole time. It's like, what are you doing in there? I'm being held hostage. No, you're not. Get out of here. And that's the whole movie.
Also, I have a bone to pick. You said this earlier. I have never heard it myself, but you said this earlier. People think that Maggie Gyllenhaal is not pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible. She is beautiful.
Yeah.
Who says that?
I was reading a review on here, one of the top reviews, and they said like people always dog on her looks. I'm like, who?
She's a fantastic looking woman.
Yeah, I'm looking at the most popular review on Letterboxd, and Demi talks about like how people online have been saying that for a long time, and it's like,
I don't understand. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
Also, whenever I see tattoos in movies now, I always wonder if they're real tattoos.
I feel like more times than not, they're probably fake.
Probably.
Unless it's just that actors playing like a version of themselves or like a kind of thing.
Well, like The Rock has the giant Samoan one on.
I think he actually does.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He has that, so that's just whenever he's shirtless in a movie, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Just when do you not want him shirtless in movies?
I know. I want to see the cool tattoo.
That's what you want to see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else you want to mention about?
Yeah, I feel like I do. I'm just letting it naturally progress. There is a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to digest in this, especially since, again, I think it says a lot more than what people give it credit for or what people think about.
And it's Mark Forster. He's directed World War Z and Quantum of Solace.
Didn't he do
Christopher Robin?
Hey!
Mark Forster, isn't that who did
Forster, not Forrester. He doesn't cut down trees. That's your dad.
Am I blanking?
Monsters Ball, The Kite Runner, Finding Neverland, Machine Gun Preacher.
So he didn't
Actually, a
Stay.
number of those I've heard of.
For some reason, I thought he did one of the Amazing Spider-Man.
That's Mark Webb.
Mark Webb.
Come on, Webb.
Ha ha ha. Webb.
I should have. Yeah.
I am glad that I'm going to check the name again of the screenwriter to make sure I got Zach Helm. I'm so glad he used the talent and all that he learned for this movie to then the next year write another instant classic, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
What a
Another
twist.
Dustin Hoffman role.
It is. That's true.
And spoiler alert, he dies.
I never actually have seen
That's
it.
the movie. Is like halfway through the movie, Mr. Megorium's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna die," and they're like,
He just,
"What?"
Like, Yoda's himself out of there.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just gone. And it's all about, well, who will run the Wonder Emporium? And the little kid's like, what am I going to
So
do?
it's
And
like
Jason Bateman is like the mean
Jason Bateman's in this?
business
I've
guy.
never seen
So it,
And I think
it sounds
Natalie
like
Portman's also in
a
it.
cracked out Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
But it's a
So
Wonder
Willy Wonka,
Emporium.
So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
What?
So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
and
Hey,
then,
that's a better movie.
And then I was looking, Zach Helm wrote those two movies. They came out back-to-back years, and he didn't write another movie until last year. He did Deep Water. Have you heard of Deep Water?
No.
That is where Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas are married, and I think it's a Hulu movie.
Okay.
It's very bad from what everyone says.
Deep Water?
Deep Water.
Yeah, that's bad. I put
Yeah.
a spell on you.
Interesting career for Zach Helm as a screenwriter. Those are his 3 screenplays.
Wow.
What did
That's
I see?
really all
So
over the
Stranger Than
board.
Fiction to Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and then 15 years later,
Okay,
Deep Water.
I'm going to be honest with you. Stranger Than Fiction probably bombed,
Oh, well, that's
and
what
so
I said.
no one
yeah.
trusted him to write anything.
There's no way
but
that
he
they
did
would've made
Mr.
any
Megorium's
money.
Wonder Emporium.
Does that strike you as something someone
Actually,
trusted him
I
to
believe-
write?
Just I would not be surprised. I would be.
Yeah.
I feel like it should have at least got a nomination for original screenplay.
Let's see. It
Did
made
it get any nominations?
Golden Globe for Will Ferrell, I think. Nomination. It made $53.7 million on a budget of $30.
Yeah, so
I
it lost money.
don't think it made that much.
money.
Well, you got to give some of that money to the theaters. You got to bring.
Now, you don't want
No,
to
the
know
theaters
what
don't
didn't
need
do
monies.
well.
What are you talking about?
Mr. Megorium was a $65 million budget, and it grossed $69.5. Oh, Zach Helm directed it, too. Imagine, you write Stranger Than Fiction, and they give you your own movie. Yep, and he wrote and directed Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. Good for him. It's more than I've done.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
It's a lot more than I've done too.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm looking at like his filmography and stuff. Like, he's not done that much.
Anyway, guys, yeah, I cried at the end when she feeds him the sugar cookie in the little thing. I was like, oh my gosh. I was already crying from the whole, isn't that the type of man you want to keep alive? But then they do the whole thing where Maggie Gyllenhaal loves him so much if he's a sugar cookie in the narration, and it just, I was like, I really was like that. I'm not, my wife got home from whatever she was doing.
And she probably just saw you
She
just
walked
in
into
a
the living room, and
mess
I
on the
just like,
couch.
I was just like a mess. I was like, she's like, hi, how are you? I'm good. I just really
okay?
love this.
Can you give me a cookie? It doesn't rub my hand while I eat it. She's like, "Oh, what?
What's the line?
The thing about the
What was the-
the feeling of someone, a familiar hand. or
Yeah.
something. That's really
But no,
good.
I was thinking about more like what the doctor said to him immediately when he woke up. Am I dead? No.
Yeah.
You were.
I know what
Riveting
you're,
dialogue.
You're trying to figure it out what he said, and so you're like, oh, if I start it, I'll remember. He said,
Yep.
and the doctor says, no. And then you stop. Like,
Am I dead?
yeah.
No. You were hit by a bus. You saved a kid, though. Good for you.
You seem like you should be dead, probably. Or
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Piece of the watch got stuck in him to stop that big artery from bleeding out.
Yeah.
So the watch saved him, but now he'll have a piece of watch stuck in him the rest of his life.
And now, that's another thing that I love that I don't think that we have talked about here. there is no explanation for why her narrating causes him to do what he, like, causes him to follow. I love that. I'm going to call it a Midnight in Paris sort of moment, but I know Midnight in Paris came much, much later.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I mean, that's...
Are you going to watch it?
Yes.
Okay.
I own it.
It's great. Yeah, I know. We keep you bring it up because it is the perfect example of you don't need to explain how the fantasy of the world works. It just does. Watch the movie. I want you to see it.
It does cause me to ask a question, though. Why couldn't she just change the name of the person?
What do you mean? Change the name of?
The character. Why couldn't she just change it from Harold to Dickey?
I don't know. I don't know how the world works.
Exactly.
That's the point.
I don't think... Yeah. I do think... I don't know if this is my brain trying to make that connection and answer that question or not. But to me, it felt as if that was just...
It's one of those things... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that was just her coming to grips. Like, we are essentially watching a visualized version of her writing process.
Yep.
That's kind of what I got into. And so just, like, seeing him start to question it is really her just starting to question it. And so that's kind of why that happens. And that's at least the way my brain connected it, and it could be entirely wrong. I don't know. We'd have to ask the writer himself.
If you want to nitpick it further, she is like an esteemed author, super popular, sold a lot of books. So if she's been writing these stories where people die and real people are dying, why wouldn't someone draw a connection like, hey, this super famous book about how a person with this name died, and what if there's a real person?
They mentioned that in the movie.
How do they mention it?
When she's laying on the table and she goes, how many people have I killed? And then Queen Latifah convinces her that that's not really a thing that she needs to worry about.
I'm just saying, if we think about it, it's like, I don't know if she did kill anyone else then, because someone would have drawn that connection.
I don't think she did. I think it's mostly because we don't see her interact with Harold all that much. So I really think what we're seeing with Harold is in her head. I think what we are...
The whole movie was a dream. She actually jumped off that roof at the beginning. None of this happened. This is her on the way down dying, because, you die before you hit the ground.
But I was going to say, he interacts with other people when it's not narrated. His whole interaction with Professor Hilbert, who then Emma Thompson interacts with, is never narrated. So that couldn't possibly be by the own laws of the story. That's the one thing. I'm not gonna delve. I'm gonna not dive into that because I think if the movie was longer, it probably would have been that. But the way it's set up, that doesn't make much sense to me. I will say, crap. Now I forgot what I was gonna say.
I was just saying, if she actually did, because when she was like, how many people have I killed? I don't think she's killed anybody, because someone would have figured that out, that, hey, there are real people called this, and they died in the exact same way. That's kind of weird for how prolific she is.
Mm-hmm.
That is the other thing I was going to say. I'm not going to count it a flaw, but more of a preference sort of thing. I kind of wish more of Harold's life was narrated. I feel like once he hits a certain point, there's not a whole lot of it. Like once they meet, there's not a whole lot of it. There's like a little bit of it here and a little bit of it there. I kind of wish more of it was. And that's the other thing that makes me think that that's not what's going on, because it's not all narrated. You would think that if that was what they were trying to imply, it would all be narrated.
But I think what was... Again, this is just the way my brain connects it, and I could be drawing assumptions that are entirely wrong from what the writer was intending. But the way that I see it is that everything that happened between the actual narration was her putting pen to paper. What happened between
it doesn't work like that, because she inks on the paper does not happen. It's only when she uses the typewriter.
Okay, so when I say pen to paper, I essentially mean the typewriter. I just mean the act of physically writing. And then everything between the actual narration or her physically writing is just her thought process of what this character would go through. Does that make sense?
So this is where I'm going to say it's just much easier to say. It just works.
No, absolutely.
It's better to go. Sad woman writes about Will Ferrell. The end. There we go. We did it.
That is definitely an easier way, but my brain is trying to draw connections where there probably aren't.
It's
connections.
because you recently watched a Christopher Nolan movie. Let's be honest about this.
I also was
Dickey's
recently
brain.
watching and reading a lot of sci-fi, like where there's like a lot of like strange.
Dickey's brain. Shut up.
I could say that a lot too. Hey brain, stop overthinking it.
Yeah, this was one of those movies that someone suggested to me way back. I think I was in high school. They said, "Here are two movies you should watch: Stranger Than Fiction."
Was it me?
No, Stranger Than Fiction and Reign Over Me. And I was like, okay.
Was it Lister?
I'll tell you
I
later.
thought you told me that story. It was one of your teachers.
And it was like, no,
Oh,
it's
different
on
story.
Jake and I both know. And it was like Stranger Than Fiction has a really good cast, is a fun movie in its way, and has like really cool on-screen animations that show like measurements of stuff, and it does for like
The birth of
it is-
After Effects, as it were.
It is well composited. Like it really does work within the world that it was.
And then he said, "Reign Over Me," because it's serious Adam Sandler and the soundtrack's really good. I saw Reign Over Me in college. I don't like it that much. It's not that good.
Oh, wait, is it?
Yeah, you know who it is.
Okay.
But moving on, so this is one of those two movies, like, people will suggest movies to me, and then it'll be years before I get to it often, because it's like, okay, when I feel like getting to it, I'll get to it.
I feel like
fair enough.
you watch movies that I recommend pretty quickly.
Yeah, I like you.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand,
And this
We
other,
have different tastes.
That's okay. You can't recommend a movie to Dickey and get your movie back within the calendar year.
I gave that back. Hey, what was it?
You gave
after?
it back. It
No,
is sitting
what-
at my house
wait,
right now.
What was the other one that I actually watched really fast and gave right back? There
Blade
was-
Runner.
Yeah.
It's because you had to.
Okay, yeah.
So Stranger Than Fiction.
yes.
Maggie Gyllenhaal's great in it. Emma Thompson's great in it. Dustin Hoffman is pretty good in it. Will Ferrell's great in it.
I don't like how Dustin Hoffman eats that yogurt. I don't know why.
I laughed pretty hard at how often he drank
it's
coffee.
like way more liquidy than I'm used to yogurt being. I'm used to being a little thicker. He's just, he's like slurping it like
going to
soup, and I was
I
like,
think that's because he's eating it out of a coffee cup that has old coffee in it.
oh, the way he dumped the coffee back in was just. I know
Oh,
people
that
do that. It was
was-
funny. He takes a sip, and then it cuts to him just dumping it back in. I go,
Also, can we talk about a
Okay.
home slice drinking his coffee while he's taking a piss?
That's
What?
weird.
I watch it like Any opinion you have?
well,
I
talking.
immediately
I'm
don't-
still weird about like talking with people at urinals.
I completely
it's,
agree.
It's weird.
I've never seen a
completely
urinal
agree.
that has a wall that I can see over.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird. What kind of school is this? I like how they filmed in Chicago, because I remember thinking like, this doesn't look like New York or LA. This is somewhere else, and I actually really like how it looks. And I go, oh, okay, yeah. I like
See,
how
it's
the
funny
city
you
looks.
say that because in the hospital, so I didn't know where it was set. In the hospital, I thought I saw a building that looked like the World Trade Center, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's weird. That's not there anymore. And then I had to look it up and be like, oh, it's in Chicago. Okay, that makes sense.
Back toddling down,
Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah, I think this is a lot of really good stuff. I liked it better this time. I think being older, you appreciate things better, and I think I was more on the artistic side of that argument that you brought up, where it's like, okay, that makes sense. And when they don't, it's like, oh, the art's not as good. Jared, what are you doing? And this time, Jared, what are you thinking? This is a
See,
guy's
when you connect to the
living
life
time.
part of it as being more important as art not being the end-all be-all, the movie makes a lot more sense because it is more about how life interacts with art.
Yeah. And again, it could have been really stupid and just another Will Ferrell dumb comedy vehicle, and instead it's much more mature than that, and I appreciate that.
I think it's probably
I wish he
because-
would have done another role like this.
Yeah, well, I think it's also probably because they probably wrote and made the movie. They wrote the movie and then they casted him. Where I feel like a lot of Will Ferrell movies, apart from this, they write Will Ferrell.
Right for
They write for, yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
his most annoying movie ever.
What?
Elf.
It's not the
like
most
it.
annoying movie ever.
Alpha's full of joy and happiness.
Sorry, his most annoying movie, in my opinion.
I don't know. Talladega Nights, I want to punch him in the face.
I've never seen
I
that.
can't stand it.
I've never seen that one,
Love
to be
Talladega
fair.
Nights. Which, fun fact, I don't know if you guys saw, there was an interview with Chris Nolan that he said, the interview was asking him his quote-unquote remote drop movies. So if you're scrolling through TV and you see a movie on, you're just going to keep it on and drop your remote. Talladega Nights was one of his. So,
Yeah.
fun fact.
I watched it a year or two ago for the first time, sitting there going, I don't like this.
He's an obnoxious person, but I think it's a little entertaining.
For 5 minutes. Maybe if it was an SNL sketch.
I mean, I feel like a lot of his movies, other than this, obviously, they come from his Funny or Die kind of background. They come from that. They come up with a really good bit. And then
It's very similar to Sandler's career of like, this is funny for 5-10 minutes, not for 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Personally, I would rather watch Will Ferrell over Adam Sandler. But I don't know about
The
you
average
guys.
quality is probably higher than Adam Sandler. But Sandler's also got a couple movies that are better than anything Will Ferrell's done.
That's true. Uncut Gems.
I mean,
And
that's
Punch
not
Drunk Love, I
a
think, is
hard
still
bar.
good.
That's not a hard bar, given that we think that this is his peak.
Yeah. Again, I wish he would have done more. It probably was. It didn't make that much money, like we said, and he never did it again. But I wonder if in years to come it gets somewhere. It gets like a revival of sorts of people rediscovering it and being like, why didn't he do more like this? This is good.
I mean, hey, maybe.
I think he's tried in some respects.
I was gonna say maybe he just gets tired, and like his shtick of being loud and annoying just gets tired to him. Like it takes a lot of energy to do that. So if he just wants like a little more chill and easier role, he'd find something like this again.
Like Get Hard. Or Spirited.
Is he a very loud presence in Barbie? Is it?
Not really. They use him, but they don't use him a lot. They use him only a little bit, and they use him just the right amount, personally.
See, that's why I kind of loved the Lego movie, is because, spoilers for the Lego movie, in that moment where Will Ferrell is, I see the Stranger Than Fiction Will Ferrell, and I go, thank you.
Yeah, you get a little bit more. Like he actually had a pretty good moment in the Barbie movie where I can see the Stranger Than Fiction Will Ferrell in it, and I can see him really like actually using his acting chops because they're there. He's a good actor. It's hard when your shtick makes you a lot of money. You want to keep using that.
Like who is it that said it? The old guy, the Michael Caine. You show up to your house with a dump truck of money.
I'm sorry.
What are you gonna say? No.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
Speaking
say no to
of that, was Michael Caine in Oppenheimer anywhere?
No.
no.
Is he dead?
No.
No.
He's just not in it.
Okay, that's weird.
I know it's a Chris Nolan movie. He's not in.
Yeah.
Back to Will Ferrell. I was looking through his stuff. There's a couple things that I've never heard of that could be more serious stuff, so maybe he has and we just haven't heard about it.
That's true. Maybe they just
For all we know.
Let me see. Let me hear it.
I gotta go all the way back.
Why'd you
thought you were
navigate
leaning
away
into
from
it.
that?
No, I was just saying. I was looking through. I was like, there could be some of these that could be. I wasn't going to elaborate because I don't know.
I thought you were going to tell us what they were. I'm curious to know.
Yeah. Why did you navigate away from that on a movie podcast about Will Ferrell?
That's true. I was just saying, like, there might be more that we're not sure because I don't know if it is or not.
That's
Everything Must Go is one that popped up.
true. I remember hearing about that. That is a more serious.
Or Downhill. I remember when Downhill came out. I heard it was bad.
Downhill is like kicking and screaming on bikes, isn't it?
No, Downhill is where he and Julie Louis-Dreyfus are like trapped at a ski resort. I think it's a loose remake of Force Majeure, and I hear it's bad.
Oh, so it's like that episode of Boy Meets World.
Kinda no.
I remember seeing the trailers for that. I never watched it, but I still remember the trailers.
Yeah, so there might be more on here that I'm just scrolling past even where it's like I have no idea because I just scrolled past another movie that I do like him in is the Producers remake, but he plays a guy, a German, that yells the whole movie. So it's like, of course he plays that role.
Throat chords have got him getting pretty tired from all his yelling.
Actually, I know what my favorite Will Ferrell movie is. Megamind.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
That is totally fair.
He's got some moments in Megamind, too, that are a little more serious that he actually pulls off well. Yes, it's only a vocal performance, so...
And it's still...
But that's still... It's not like it's easy to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's my favorite Will Ferrell movie, Megamind.
That's a great take. I love that.
Yeah, I'd watch that again. If you're new to this podcast, we covered that in our DreamWorks series about 2 years ago at this point.
Go watch it. It's a good
So,
episode.
So we have talked about it before. If you want to check that out. Yeah.
Well, on that note, you guys have anything else you want to mention about Stranger Than Fiction or Will Ferrell's career?
No.
I am happy to report that it did not fall like Looper did.
You think you would still keep
Still
it at
number
number
6.
6, though?
That's a question I'm going to save for the finale of either these top 10 our favorites, or if we just discuss it.
At some point.
Why are you shaking your head no?
I'm not shaking my head no.
Oh, then you're twitching and it's making your head do this.
Probably. Either that or it's the purple lights behind me that are making me float.
Oh, baby, we all float on. All right. I think that's even from this year.
That is
Close.
not from this year.
Not this year. 2006. God bless it.
Actually,
Jake.
that might have been from around 2006.
2004, but
Okay.
I'm being a bit modest.
Oh, silly little mouse.
Well, on that
It's a
note,
bit cheesy.
thank you guys for listening to
Don't start
today's
talking about mouse
episode.
hunt.
We've worked our way through half of Jake's movies, and now we get to work after this. We get to work our way through the next half. And if you want to stay tuned for that, Jared, where can people follow us online?
Oh, I gotta know what's next.
Yes, don't forget to tease us after.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and that's
Wait,
funny.
Did you say Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and hey, like and subscribe and comment and ring our bell on YouTube to see our funny faces.
Yeah.
And,
a great set. It's a great
Make
set.
sure you comment and rate us on all those
apps.
and check out our groovy
Beer
website.
cheese.
Dickie needs to update it.
Spin dip.
I'm not a big fan of spin dip.
No, I love this.
It's
What
too
about
ri-
beer
it's,
spin
it's
and
too
dip
rich.
chip?
You could not mix spinach and beer cheese.
That sounds a little.
Probably not.
It's a different type of cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of cheese.
Not your kind of cheese.
Your
No
kind of
cheese is really kind of your cheese, though.
Not
You think
really.
goat cheese? I love goat
Toe cheese.
You can mix spinach and goat cheese, I
cheese.
think.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be delicious.
You know, people put those jellies on goat cheese and stuff.
God, that sounds so good right
I
now.
do really like putting goat cheese on pizza.
Oh, goat cheese. That's so good.
It makes it melty and that makes it good. The crumbly I don't
Dude, there was
really
a good
care
goat cheese
for.
pizza at what's the place on Leonard?
The Tallies?
No, it's like it's over on the west side. It's like Mitten Brewing.
Oh,
Mitten Brewing has a good goat cheese pizza.
never had it. Been to Mitten.
Yeah.
Never had that.
Anyway,
Are you finished?
I've had the Caris.
was
They're
a
like
fun
genuine Italian pizza, so it's mostly goat cheese and not fully covered pizza. Urban Fire has goat cheese too.
Anyway, Jake, what's your movie? What's your movie
you're-
we're gonna watch next week?
If you're so inclined to be watching along with us,
Going through our cheese discussion.
the next movie you should watch, and this is a movie I've seen so much. I have seen this movie every time it has been released and re-released in theaters, which I think at this point is like 8.
It's older than Dickie.
It is older.
And it's like a month older than me, I think.
You know, I saw the list. I don't even know what movie you're talking about.
It's older than Dickie. It might also be one of your favorite of this type of movies. I know it's not your favorite of this type of movie.
No, this is the movie that when I made a top 100 animated for my personal opinions, I put it below
I know what
Recess Schools Out.
This
and
is
you
like-
flipped
This is like the
on me.
this is like the absolute hottest take I have on my top 10s. Sarcasm.
Oh,
We're gonna be watching 1996's The Lion King.
I'm older than that. I'm 95.
for 1994. I wrote it. It's right there.
Oh, you did. I read 96.
It's because you keep
My bad. It is
you keep thinking I was
1994.
born in 96. I was born in 94.
That's right. You were born on the day OJ was chased.
Yep. And we have to be specific about what Lion King it is because now we have a crappy live action remake.
This is the Lion King that existed before a lot of people were born. And
Yeah.
it is the
And
Lion
after a lot
King,
of people were born.
and it is the Lion King that Jared retroactively likes as a result of the 2019 barf.
Yep.
You didn't like it before that?
No.
I liked it, but it's a discussion for next week. But
Okay,
everyone likes it so much, I got sick of it. And then now it's like, no, this is really good
I don't
because
know.
now we have crap to compare it to.
I don't know. It's pretty great, but it's no Lion King 1.5.
He's got you there.
I do love the
He's
light.
got your goat cheese there.
Anyway, if you want to watch that and join our discussion, listen to our discussion.
And also join it, because comment below and tell us if you agree that it should be Jake's top 5 pick. But anyway, yes, thank you for listening. Tune in next week, like Jake said. We love you guys so much. We'll see you later.
Peace.